Hey guys, Dion here with Your Guitar Academy, and in today's lesson we're going to take a look at how to play Livin On A Prayer by Bon Jovi. This is going to include all the rhythm parts as well as the very famous solo part and also the key change at the end as well. So grab your guitar and let's get going. Okay, so let's kick straight off at the start of the tune. So we've obviously got this kind of quite intense build that's happening, this kind of atmospheric thing going on. And then we kick in with the famous riff that's played using that Talkbox. Which I don't actually have. I do, however, have a kind of a patch dialed into my pedal board here that almost kind of simulates that sound a bit, which is just optional. You know, you can play this song without that sound and it still sounds really cool. So we're starting off in the key of E minor for this song, and it kind of features a couple of single note riffs, some palm muting, as well as some power chords and stuff in the chorus. So let's take a look at that very first riff that we mimic the bass line with. It sounds something like this. So we kind of start this riff on the tail end of the bar, and then it falls nicely on beat number one, and it just kind of continues to loop around. So let me show you the notes first, and then we'll talk about where you come in. So the first note is going to be the note of B on the 7th fret of the E string, and we're going to palm mute that, okay? And then the next note is going to be the note of D that's on the 5th fret of the A string, so okay. Then after that, we do a palm muted low E string, so like so. And I've done all downstrokes so far. And then after this, 7th fret on the A string, palm mute the E again, and then palm mute the 7th fret of E again. 5th fret of A, not palm muted. And then 3 chugs on the low E string, palm muted. So a lot of info there, but it should sound something like this. In fact, I was mistaken. I did 3 chugs on the E. It's actually 2 chugs, then the 7th fret of E string, that B note. So again, I'll count myself in and you can hear which beat it comes in on. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you see we're on the 4 and with those first 2 notes, and then when we land on the first low E string palm muted, that's beat number 1. So now with a drum beat, let me grab something up. What sort of tempo is good? Let's try. Yeah, let's try this. It's about 83 BPM. So 1, 2, 3. And in terms of which fingers I'm using, I'm going 3rd finger there, 1st finger there, 3rd finger there, then I use my 2nd to grab that 7th fret on the E string. Then back to the 1st, okay? But again, that's entirely kind of your decision, how you want to play that. So let me just kick this voice box sound on and you can kind of hear what it sounds like with this sort of filter on. So yeah, just a bit of fun there. It's totally optional if you want to use that effect, but it kind of gets a bit closer to that sort of voice box sound that their Talkbox sound, should I say, sorry, that they're using on the record. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. So in the verses, the bass is just essentially playing that bass line there, sort of the riff there on the bass, and the guitar drops out a little bit, but very occasionally we have on the guitar, okay, with these 2 massive power chords, so the verse would go like, this is the bass playing this, 3, 4, And you'll be able to pick out on the record exactly where that is if you take a listen to the original version. And all I'm doing there is just your standard power chord shape, 3-note power chord, and I'm playing it on the note of C. So that's the 3rd fret of the A string. And let it ring for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up to the 5th fret for the D. 2, 3, 4, and then cut out. Okay, so we want some shade here dynamically. So the bass is taking care of all of the other stuff. We're occasionally going to drop in with our in the verses, and you can add a bit of vibrato like I did if you want. And then the real kind of rhythm guitar part happens in the chorus, and this is more power chords here, okay? So it sounds something like this. So again, for the actual rhythm of this, I always suggest kind of just listening to the original, because I think whenever I'm learning strumming patterns and things like that, I find that if I analyze the actual rhythm and count it too much, it gets a little bit confusing. But the most important things to pick out, straight in on beat 1. And then you see that D, the 2nd chord there is on the upstroke. So like 1 and 2 and 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's most of it's quite on the beat. And there's that 2nd chord that's just on the upstroke. But in terms of the actual chords that I'm playing, again, power chord shape, moving from the 3rd fret with the C power chord. And this is all on the A string. Up to the D power chord, ending up on the 7th fret for the E power chord. So again, with some drums, sounds something like this. And with the strumming pattern, sometimes I hit the first 2 chords with downstrokes, sometimes I do up. It kind of depends how I feel in the moment. I'd encourage you to just pick what's comfortable for you and go with that. So yeah, it does that a couple of times. We go. So that's the 3rd time. And then the last time, let it ring for 1 bar, that C power chord. 2, 3, 4. So that's like a triplet feel there, and it's mirroring the vocal, you know, that give it a shot, give it a shot, boom, and then a brief moment of silence there that's really important. So we don't want to go then into the chorus. Make sure you cut that chord off nicely. And then when we hit the chorus, you have a load of impact there because of the fact that we've had that brief moment of silence. So let's talk about the chorus now. More power chords here. So I'm starting with an E power chord, but now in the open position. Okay, so that's simply just an open E string, 2nd fret of A, and you can add in the 2nd fret of D if you want. I'm just sort of barring there, but you can do it with 2 fingers. Like that. So we go something like this. So that's the E power chord. Then into the C power chord, which is on the upstroke. Remember, that's on the push. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That 3rd chord is the D power chord again. So 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And now a G power chord, which is the 3rd fret of the lower E string. And then again, the last 2 chords are the same as the first repeat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat with the low E power chord. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. And then we've got a C power chord at the end just before the solo as well, which we're going to talk about in a second. Let's talk a bit about the ad lib. There's like a sort of lead guitar lick in the 2nd verse where it's like that sort of thing. It's actually a little bend there. I played the note wrong the 2nd. So we're starting with, we're sort of like in position 1 E minor pentatonic, you can imagine. That sort of shape there. So it's when John Bon Jovi's singing, and then there's that like kind of small gap where the guitar goes. So all I've got there is the 14th fret of G. It's the note of A. I'm bending it up a tone. And then release it nice and slow, then re-pick the note again and just give it a big bit of vibrato, that 14th fret. So. And then we want to go up to the 17th fret of the high E string, bend that up a tone as well. Bit of vibrato on top, and then. So what that was a double stop on the 12th fret of G and B. Immediately followed by the 14th fret of D. So it's a quick. So I'm doing a downstroke followed by an upstroke. And then we play the double stop again and slide down. So give it a bit of attitude, you know. That sort of thing. So again, that part would go. That sort of thing. Super 80s, super cool. I love that. Okay, so I think we are ready to move on to the solo now. Because that pretty much covers all the rhythm parts except for the key change at the end. So I'll come back to the key change. I'm trying to do it kind of in chronological order first. So we'll come back to the key change after the solo. So the solo sounds something like this. Pretty cool solo, very melodic, but you've got that kind of little shred bit at the end as well. So we're starting quite low with this one. So we want to be down on the 7th fret of the A string, okay? And we're going to take it kind of phrase by phrase. So first phrase would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, starting on the A string, 7th fret, down to 5, back to 7. And then we're jumping up onto the D string, 5th fret, 7th fret, bend up a tone, so. And make sure you intonate that bend well. You want to hit this note here, that note of B. Release the bend, and then end on the 5th fret of the A string. So with the drums, 3, 4. There we go. And then the next part, we jump up pretty high. So we're now back in this sort of 12th fret domain. So we're now kind of in like E natural minor or E Aeolian, if you want to think of it that way. And it sounds like this. Really cool little fragment that. So starting on the 12th fret of E, 14th fret of E, up to 15, and I'm using finger 1, 3, 4. And what's tricky here is you now need to do this kind of roll with our 4th finger, because the note after the 15th fret of E is the 15th fret of B, and you don't want them bleeding into each other. We want to have one note, then the other. So the way I'm doing that is if you look really closely at my 4th finger, if I take those other fingers away, you see I'm kind of rolling. So I'm fretting the first note with the sort of more fingerprint part of my little finger. Then when I roll, the fingertip is fretting the 15th fret of B. Okay, so it's a great sort of technique to get used to, because it happens a lot with the pentatonic scale when you have you're jumping in intervals of fourths, you know. So it's a really good idea to get used to this rolling technique. So there we are. And then we go 12, 13 on the B string. Back up to 15. I'm now on my 3rd finger because I'm going to bend. So bending up a tone there twice. So we bend once, release, bend again, and then release, big bit of vibrato. So it's like this. So far that gives us You can re-pick that last note if you want, like this. Totally up to you. And then we have this little cool like double stop part. It goes like this. So we're kind of like starting with a bit of a ghost note. So like, but it's sort of a ghost note, but it's maybe the 14th fret of D just palm muted. And it sounds like this, just there. So, and then we release the palm mute and hit the double stop on the 12th fret again. Back to 14. So, and then here, that is the 13th fret of B with the second finger and the 14th fret of G with the third finger. And then back to the 12 double stop, so the whole thing so far. And that's all on the offbeat, so 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Then we have, so that's the 11th fret of G. Cool little semitone bend with the first finger there. And then release the bend. And then we go with the third finger on the 12th fret of D. And then the second finger on the 12th fret of A. So that full phrase. And then the last bit of the phrase. Okay, so we're kind of back in that Aeolian natural minor territory there again. And we've got 12th fret of E, followed by the 14th, followed by the 15th, and then that roll again, you see that? Back down to the 12th fret of B, and then 13 on B, 12 on B, roll with the first finger down to 12 on G. So you see now my first finger is doing the rolling. So once again. And then finally we want a nice big bend on the 15th fret, a full tone. And then we have this final shred phrase, which is like alternate picked fast. It goes. Okay, so it's kind of a chromatic idea, this. And what we're doing is we're starting on the 14th fret of G. And just going 14, 15, 16. And then we do the same, just one fret up on the B string. 15, 16, 17. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So that's what we got so far. Then we repeat 15, 16, 17 on the B. And then we do 15, 16, 17 on E. And then a big full tone bend on 17. So the whole thing slowed down, sounds like that. And this is all alternate picked, a bit slower. And then full speed. So it's kind of cool when you speed it up there. Let me just play it, the full solo now, lick by lick, just with the drums at 83 BPM. So first part. And then the next part, it goes 2, 3. And the double stop. Sorry, got that wrong. It goes. Next bit. And then the shred part. So it's kind of like a triplet feel at the end there. Full tempo would be around about here, I think. Yeah, that's about right. I've got that last bit a tiny bit wrong. Let's try that again. That's better. Bit cleaner. It's quite tricky, that part. And that's our full solo there. I think that was maybe a tiny bit slower than the original tempo, but I just wanted to play it a little bit faster than the slower tempo so you can get the feel for it. The last part to talk about with this tune is just that key change at the end. So we have a normal chorus after the solo, and then once it goes for the sort of the midway through that last chorus, it then goes. So what's cool about this is that it's modulated, so it's changed key and it's moved up a tone and a half. Okay, so we've gone from E minor, now we're in G minor. So the first power chord is going to be the 3rd fret of the E string for that G power chord. Then you want to go to fret 6 of the A string, that's an E flat power chord. And then we move up to the 8th fret of the A string for an F power chord. And the strumming pattern is the same as the other chorus, we're just in a different key. So. And then we go to the B flat power chord, which is on the 6th fret of E. And then again, repeat with the E flat power chord to the F. And that's the full thing. So if I play the chorus that leads into that in the original key, you'll hear how it all comes about. So we go. So it's really awkward because you do the and then you change key, so it doesn't allow the final. It's almost like skip to beat. So it feels like you want to go 4, but we missed that beat 4. It's essentially like a bar of 3, and again you'll pick up on that if you listen to the original record. And then it just essentially fades out playing in that new key. When I've played the song live with covers bands before, we tend to just end it like that sometimes, which is just ending on that E flat power chord. But yeah, it's a great fun song to play. So that kind of covers all of the rhythm guitar parts, the riff part, the Talkbox riff part, that cool little lead part in the verse, and also the full guitar solo. So take your time with that, have fun, and I'll see you in the next video.